WWE is talking to a top UFC fighter about coming to the company. We're going to talk about that, plus the new WWE Raw TV deal. Something big is happening in the wrestling industry, plus some free agency talk. It's all happening right here on TAS. Welcome back to the Ango Show. I want to kick things off with the Tonga twins, Kona and Chaos, a.k.a. the Tonga twins, part of Women of Wrestling. No longer. Chaos took to Twitter and released a statement coming out and saying, "We will be speaking out soon, but for now, we'll leave it here. To all the women who are scared to speak up, we stand for you. You will no longer see us on WOW because we spoke up. You can't do this to good people who sacrifice their family. So evil. Mess with us, you mess with our kids and our family, and that's personal. Wait on it. Tonga twins are now free agents. The marathon continues." Kona also came out with a statement, "To my kids, mommy, sorry, time for the next run, my sis." And this is very interesting. Maybe you know who they are, maybe you don't, but I want to talk about why it's important because they're actually really talented. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know everything about them, but what I will say is I do actually specifically remember watching them on AEW Dark, which was very interesting because I used to watch AEW Dark just for the simple fact of kind of like how I would watch NXT. Like, who will appear on this show that I might see in the future? Who could potentially become a future star? And obviously with AEW Dark, there was a lot of people like Thea Hale or Kiana James or Fallon Henley. Obviously, they had different names in AEW, but they were working AEW Dark. They found their way to NXT. The Tonga twins were a women's tag team that obviously were jobbers in AEW Dark. They had to take the losses, but they actually showed a lot of promise. And then whenever I did tune in to Women of Wrestling, I would see them. And obviously I try to pay attention to you know, what the potential possibilities are in the future. And I think they're good. I think they're talented. Now, they're free agents. Something went down with Women of Wrestling. And look, if you guys don't know what WOW is, it's owned by Jeannie Buss, the owner of the Lakers. And one thing you need to know is a lot of people, for some reason, seem to be having an issue with Women of Wrestling. AJ Lee is also no longer there, and AJ Lee is the real-life wife of CM Punk. So a lot of people are kind of confused as to what is going on in this company. Obviously, what has happened, the details are very scarce, but this is what I will say. They're talented. A lot of companies could benefit from having a legitimate tag team in their women's division. And there's two companies that currently have a women's tag team division that is currently featured on television that could benefit from this. And both being TNA and WWE. Now, I see a lot of people are saying that WWE should sign the Tonga twins and have them join the Bloodline. Look, I don't know what their relationship is to the Bloodline, so I'm not in favor of just adding every single, you know, Polynesian Islander to a group. I don't think that really makes a lot of sense. But if there is a relationship to the Bloodline, if there is some sort of relationship that they have, and WWE can actually confidently tell you that story, then at that point, it's fine if it makes sense and it's logical. But WWE has the women's tag team division, and they're trying pretty... I would say I would give them a little bit of props. It's not perfect, but they have definitely been putting a little bit more emphasis on the women's tag team division. The problem is they don't have true women's tag teams, so they would be a great fit. I also look at TNA as somebody who could probably utilize them even a little bit more better in that regard because TNA is actually really good with their women's knockout division, and they could benefit from having another true women's tag team join the club. So yeah, listen, I think those two companies could make a lot of sense. Obviously, they had history in AEW. If AEW chooses to add a women's tag team division, it's obviously a no-brainer. This is a true women's tag team, so you got to do it. It's not just thrown together. Like they're an actual tag team. Got to sign them. Whoever it is, you're going to get two really good talents with a lot of upside. I want to turn our attention to WWE Raw on USA Network because the news has come out that WWE Raw will remain on USA Network for the rest of the year. This is a little bit of a shocker considering that, well, nobody really knew what was going to happen in Q4 of 2024. TKO had reported a lot of interesting stuff on their financial highlights for all their transactions and the first quarter results. But one of the big things, or one of the big stories coming out of this, is that WWE and NBC Universal did come up to an agreement for $25 million just for the last few months of 2024. So for those who don't know how this is going to work, WWE starting January 1st, 2025 will be on Netflix. Now, the big thing was WWE did not have a TV deal for after Raw expired on USA. And look, WWE going to USA and staying on USA is probably the best possible outcome. I don't want to drag this out too long with my opinion, but my opinion is very simple. You do not want to confuse your audience, and you don't really want people moving around. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, well, they could just put Raw on YouTube for a couple months. Like, that doesn't work, right? You want consistency. So WWE Raw remaining the same until the end of the year, and then you can promote Netflix, you can do all of that good stuff, but really the idea is to properly transition to a new channel, which in this case, it's actually a little bit more difficult because you're not telling people to specifically go to a new channel. You're telling people, hey, if you don't pay for Netflix, you're not going to be able to watch Raw. So it's actually a little bit of a more difficult transition, but one that I think this is the right way of going about it. $25 million. I'm not looking at the financial aspect of it. I'm thinking of this in regards to the long-term stuff. But even getting $25 million just for a few months, I don't know what that equals out per month, but I'm not going to do the math either. But I'm going to say it's less than $10 million, maybe like $7, $8, $9 million per month that they stay on there. And look, I don't know if that's like the best financial decision, but what I do know is that this could have had a lot of worse negative effects on WWE had they gone to a different channel for a few months until Netflix. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just keep in mind, you're not going to have to see much change. Raw to Netflix is still happening. And that brings us to our final topic. Derek Lewis revealing that he has been in talks with WWE. Oh man, this one's intriguing. If you guys have watched my channel before, and I've done my videos, I've done my topics where I talk about UFC fighters I want to see in the WWE, his name has definitely popped up. But now Derek Lewis could actually be the next one to join. Some very interesting stuff here. Yeah, he's talking about this. He was speaking to the media. Obviously, he's got the fight night against Rodrigo Nascimento. Doing media, he was asked about it. He says, we're in talks right now. We've been talking for a few months. I was supposed to go down there in February to check everything out. And that was pretty much it. Now, I don't know what Derek Lewis's ranking is in the UFC. I want to say the last time I checked, he was he was floating between 10 and 12. But he's a heavyweight in the UFC, a phenomenal talent. The guy reeks of charisma. He's funny. He's got great post-fight promos. This guy is going to transition well to WWE. The big thing is personality. The big thing is character. Obviously, he has size. He's a powerful puncher. He's funny. People enjoy watching him. I'm not saying he's the greatest UFC fighter to ever exist, but he is somebody that has a little bit of a following. He's definitely made a big splash in MMA, and WWE and TKO having this thing together with the UFC, it makes a lot of sense. I personally just want to see it because there's a lot of people, I think they transition from MMA to WWE or even AEW, and they just never stick around. Paige Van Zandt was a perfect example. And it's like, I want to see these people stick around. I want to see these people do well and actually be good. And some people never really give it a fair shot. And I look at Derek Lewis and I think, man, if he tries to learn pro wrestling and he's a heavyweight too, man. So there's some really interesting matchups you can go with. If you're the WWE, just invest in him a little bit. Don't let him give up and use him as a specialty act. You know what I'm saying? WWE has a deal with Saudi Arabia. Now does the UFC. Maybe you utilize that, right? Who knows? But WWE is no stranger to using combat sports athletes in their show. We've seen Tyson Fury on there. Now I think it makes a lot of sense for Derek Lewis to join. We'll see what happens after his fight with the UFC, and we'll see when he shows up in WWE. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ango Show.